So Iran will be more like Vietnam, but even higher, because obviously the weaponry has become more advanced. It will be a modern day Vietnam.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Welcome back to the channel, and hope your life is going well, and those you love are getting blessings and blessings, unless you are calling for war with Iran, as if you need a reminder to why America sticking its stick in the Middle East just ends up with a bunch of dead American soldiers for nothing, a bunch of dead civilians in whatever country, and we never seem to find any legit WMDs anywhere.
That is correct!
Maybe some chemical weapons here and there. Every country has those, literally, including America. Fuck yeah! But it's not like those can end the world in just a few minutes, like when the very concept of MAD happens. Which, make no mistake, this is definitely MAD. If you don't know what that is mutually assured destruction. It's a term that comes from nuclear proliferation. So this will all lead to MAD in my opinion, and if we are somehow lucky, maybe just a little window of last minute hope, ostracized entirely, and just completely shut off from the rest of the world. That's if nukes aren't deployed, or maybe they are deployed. To be honest with you, maybe one is deployed and the world doesn't like go down the rabbit hole, but usually that's the accepted outcome.
You don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do.
I hate you, hate you, hate you, hate you so much.
Which, by the way, in a global economy, you don't want to be ostracized. You don't want to be isolated. America doesn't have the economy able to survive on its own, but you know, whatever. Let's just claim we're going to bring back industrial jobs as if that entire situation doesn't take decades to scale back up. And even then, who's going to do them?
No, sir! Not me!
Don't forget to subscribe and like the video, or I will be nuking your toilet while you sit on it watching this video. So if you don't want a nuke to appear right after getting that last baby-sized turd out, I would suggest you let the video keep playing and back out to click that button, then back to full screen. I'll send a little boy straight up your rear end.
You've probably heard this line before.
Iran has never given up its quest for nuclear weapons and the missiles to deliver them.
That's because Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been saying this for more than 30 years, claiming Iran is close to having
nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons. Atomic bombs.
In 1992, as a member of parliament, Netanyahu addresses the Knesset. He says, within 3 to 5 years, we can assume that Iran will become autonomous in its ability to develop and produce a nuclear bomb. 3 years later, in his book Fighting Terrorism, he repeats the same time frame, 3 to 5 years.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Fast forward to 2002. Netanyahu testifies before a U.S. congressional committee actively calling for the invasion of Iraq.
Are there any other nations that you would recommend that the United States launch preemptive attacks upon at this point?
The two nations that are vying, competing with each other, who will be the first to achieve nuclear weapons, is Iraq and Iran.
The invasion happens months later. No weapons of mass destruction are found in Iraq. This is a fragment of a 2009 U.S. State Department cable released by WikiLeaks. Netanyahu tells members of Congress that Iran is 1 or 2 years away from being capable of developing nuclear weapons.
They're online.
It's 2012, and Netanyahu is holding up his infamous cartoon bomb at the UN General Assembly.
By next spring, at most by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb.
And now, 33 years after Netanyahu's first so-called imminent warning, Israel attacks Iran.
And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
That's despite the US Director of National Intelligence saying Iran isn't building a nuclear weapon months earlier.
Iran lied.
But for Netanyahu,
Big time.
the slogan has been the same for decades. Dmitry Medvedenko, Al Jazeera.
Bibi has been using the excuse of Iran is going to develop nukes, as that video showed, for decades now. Been an Israeli talking point for even longer, but Israel itself developed its own nukes in secret.
Right.
But most definitely with America's help, more than likely. That, I think, is what has started all of this. So, like, to give you guys some context, what started this is obviously Israel.
Famous Zionist quote, Israel is to the Jewish people what France is to the French and Japan to the Japanese. False. Yes, it is France that creates the French and Japan to the Japanese, for it is national entities. However, it is not Israel that creates the Jewish people. It is only the Torah that creates our people. The Jewish people are without the country for the past 2,000 years. We are not dependent on modern Israel for our Jewish identity.
As a byproduct of what Israel is, technically America. I don't know if you've seen the video where Biden says that if Israel didn't exist, we would invent it. I'll play it for you so you understand what I'm talking about.
If we look at the Middle East, I think it's about time we stop, those of us who support, as most of us do, Israel in this body, for apologizing for our support for Israel. There's no apology to be made. None. It is the best $3 billion investment we make. Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.
That's legit real. Israel is basically a state not attached to the mainland or even in the Western Hemisphere. It's our state of New York in the Middle East. Sure, they have their sort of autonomy or whatever and their own government, but basically they cannot go to war without our approval. It's just a guarantee. It's just how this shit works. And even crazier is, despite them not even being technically U.S. citizens, despite getting a ton of American taxpayer dollars, is Israel gets more support from the government of America, from the United States government, from Congress, from the president. Israel gets more support from them than Puerto Ricans or the people of Guam.
You guys are messed up. You just watch people suffer for a living.
And they are literally American citizens. It's insane to me. How Guam per capita has more people who serve than any other place in the United States. And still they don't get the same level of support. If I was Puerto Rican or Guamian, that fact alone would piss me to the fucking high heavens of off, which I know it probably does for most of them. You know, especially Puerto Ricans. I mean, they just get shit shafted. I think there's parts of the island that still have blackouts because they don't get support after hurricanes.
Puerto Rico. We love Puerto Rico.
Why you always lying?
But it has been America's philosophy for decades. Israel quite literally is our foothold in the Middle East. And if you know something about the Middle East, no one there wants us there.
Get out of here. I don't want you in here.
But we always meddle our way into there. Why? Because of, at the current time, oil, its strategic position as the economic choke point for the entire world, right? You got the Suez Canal, the Straits of Hormuz, Oman, I can't remember the name, but you in the Persian Gulf, you've got these areas that, you know, without them, the economy would even further be delayed because it would still require you to go around the Horn of Africa and all this stuff. So the Middle East is basically the economic choke point of the entire globe. That area we've always invested in heavily when it comes to supporting Israel are, like, if you ever notice in Israeli propaganda, they're speaking English.
That's pretty interesting.
Israel exists solely because we need it to exist. We've pissed off everybody in the region. Sure, most of them now are puppet states, right, of America. They don't really challenge us. This is a sign by the fact that during the 70s and the 60s and the 50s, if Israel ever stepped out of line, America had to like immediately throw full force backing behind them. Because the moment Israel stepped out of line, the moment they did some fuck shit or some crazy stuff, what did the Arab states around them do? All of them invaded together. Now they do this in Gaza. They do a absolute genocide in Gaza. And what do the Arab states do? Protest by saying Israel should bring peace. They did the same thing fucking protesters on college campuses did. Because they're puppets of America. America has influence and puppet and play in them. And this has all been orchestrated for decades and decades. This is part of the reason we went into Iraq.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
You know, it wasn't just the WMDs. It was because Saddam was someone we could not control. And we can't have that in the region where we have a state. I say all this stuff because whenever people create the conversation around Israel's actions, they love to create this separation when the separation is not real. Israel does what America tells it to do. Never let anyone tell you otherwise. Correct! There's a Guardian article that came out recently that had a lot of people up in tizzies, along with I've seen on TikTok some people were like losing their minds because the doomsday planes were doing unusual travels or whatever, not realizing that the doomsday planes, I think there's 4 of them, maybe 2. It's either 4 or 2. But they fly all the time. And basically what the doomsday planes are, I wouldn't say nuke proof because nothing is nuke proof, right? But as long as they could stay away from heavy blast zones in areas, they could fly forever. And of course they, would need fuel and resist EMPs and all this other stuff. So people were freaking out about that, but they do training missions all the time, maintenance missions, just to, confirm that whatever they've recently fixed or added is working or updated or just regular maintenance too, all this stuff. So I don't think that's such a big deal. Those planes moving the way they were, it's not per se something to create panic over, but it could be. And the only way we would know is you'd see a mushroom cloud, and by then it's already too late anyways for most of us. Don't let Todd Howard and Bethesda fool you, okay? Nuclear war does not end with civilization eking itself out and forming new governments and all this shit and the NCR and the Legion and everything within like 300, 400 years. Humanity likely won't exist 5 years past all the nukes going off.
In Vault 76, our future begins. Nope.
I don't know if you've ever heard of nuclear winter, but it essentially is in-game. Speaking of nukes, let's talk about this Guardian article because it has a lot of people it had a lot of people confused. Donald Trump has suggested to defense officials it would make sense for the U.S. to launch strikes against Iran only if the so-called bunker buster bomb was guaranteed to destroy the critical uranium enrichment facility at Fordo, according to people familiar with the declaration, which, to explain what Fordo, I'm not sure how it's said, is Iran's version of the Manhattan Project, right? It's their Los Alamos. It is this facility that used to kind of partially be above ground, but they recently, in I think 2005, buried over it and covered it to protect it from Israeli and American attacks. And it's their uranium enrichment facility. Enriched uranium isn't just for nukes, right? It could be used in nuclear reactors, which provide, a sustainable, high-powered electrical source. That's one of the reasons that they have that facility, even though, of course, they signed that treaty with Obama, and they let UN inspectors into this facility and several nuclear facilities to confirm that they were only enriching the uranium, because I think there's like a difference of degree. Like it takes more enriched uranium to make a nuke than it does for like nuclear reactors, I believe. Again, don't quote me on it because I'm not a nuclear scientist, but I think that's the general gist of it. But let's get back to the article. Trump was told that dropping the GBU-57s, a 13.6-ton bomb, would effectively eliminate Fordo, but he does not appear to be fully convinced. The people said and has held off authorizing strikes, as he also awaits the possibility that the threat of U.S. involvement would lead Iran to talks. The effectiveness of GBU-57s has been a topic of deep contention at the Pentagon since the start of Trump's term. The peaceful dove. But his entire Defense Department has been discussing how they were going to handle when we got to this moment at the beginning of his presidency, because they knew this moment was going to come, almost as if they knew Trump was not a peaceful dove.
I'm gonna bomb the shit out of them. It's true.
According to two defense officials who were briefed that perhaps only a tactical nuclear weapon could be capable of destroying Fordow, because of how deeply it is located, Trump is not considering using a tactical nuclear weapon on Fordow, and the possibility was not presented by the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, in meetings in the White House Situation Room. This is where people were confused. But the defense officials who received the briefing were told that using conventional bombs, even as part of a wider strike package of several GBU-57s, would not penetrate deep underground enough, and that would only do enough damage to collapse tunnels and bury it under the rubble. So remember when I said they built up over Fordow and made it kind of an underground facility? This is the point of that, is to make it resistant to air attack, which any country worth its weight in salt is going to do that to a major facility, whether it's a nuclear enrichment facility, kind of how Israel, basically their Pentagon is built under Tel Aviv. Irony! Which says a lot, ironically, about Israel when they were saying that, Palestine and Hamas were, using hospitals and tunnels, which Israel built a lot of those tunnels when they occupied Palestine. But, when they occupied Gaza, whatever. Again, sidetracking myself. The defense officials were also told that to completely destroy Fordow, which Israeli intelligence estimates to go down as far as 300 feet, it would likely require the U.S. to first soften the ground with conventional bombs, and then ultimately drop a tactical nuclear weapon from a B-2 bomber.
Don't do that.
Now, could this be a stupid-ass warhawk who just gave the worst suggestion of the fucking year to the most insane, egotistical, senile, lost in the fucking sauce nightmare that is Donald Trump?
They're eating the dogs.
Certainly. Problem is, just doing that is enough to make that 5-year-old child prepare to end the world.
China has total respect for Donald Trump and for Donald Trump's very, very large brain.
Some people are going to say there's no way it will go to mad if we drop a tactical nuke. Okay, first off, this isn't before 1949, right? Where America was the only country with a fucking bomb.
America first.
Remember how World War I started? Treaties begetting treaties begetting treaties. There are treaties and little known deals when it comes to the use of nukes. If someone wants to use a nuke on New York, for instance, every NATO country with a nuke would respond with a nuke at the country who fired the nuke, if it was per se China. Iran has an ally with a nuke. Granted, that ally is currently fucking doing the Gulag Marathon in Ukraine.
Vladimir Putin.
But Russia still has nukes. Russia's arsenal is so large that they launch a nuke, we launch nukes, that's it. Every other country that has nukes doesn't need to launch nukes, and it's over. It's still over. And if Russia launches its nukes to defend Iran, because at that point, Putin will just say, well, they used a nuke. Doesn't matter if it was tactical or not, it's a nuke. All cards on the fucking table at that point. You can bet your ass China is going to back them up with their nukes. And if China's going to back them up with their nukes, you might even get Pakistan backing them up with their nukes. And if Pakistan's using their nukes, by this point, we maybe have 5 to 10 minutes before we start seeing nukes drop all across America and the Western world.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
And while modern nukes are very efficient at not leaving a shit ton of radiation, I think if everyone starts throwing their nukes around, it does not matter how little radiation each bomb leaves. The air will be so goddamn toxic that even in the areas not hit by nukes, probably within 2 weeks life will be impossible, okay? It's over. You can't put nukes on the table and then that just make everyone sit down. We're not the only ones with nukes anymore. It does not work that way, and the world is split into two factions. The moment one plays the ultimate card, there is a window where the other can play it back. Because at that point, America's dropped 3 nukes, and we are the only country who's ever used a nuke in aggression. And at that point, everyone with nukes that isn't on our side, and hell, even the ones on our side are gonna say to themselves, well, if America is gonna do it for a 3rd fucking time against a country that doesn't even have nukes yet, why the fuck will we just wait for them to do it to us? Which, fair point. So how do we get out of this? We don't. Let me explain how this is all my opinion, obviously. We have allowed and guided Israel to this point, to this escalation, right? And at this point, even if Iranians dislike their government, which a lot of Israelis and a lot of Zionists are using this bullshit fucking talking point as if to say Iranians are standing in the street saying, yes, please bomb us because we hate the fucking Ayatollah, which is not how that fucking works.
I can't believe you fell for that.
Just like how their government will be, Iranians won't trust Americans, right? They won't trust Israel's word or America's word.
I'm a man of my word.
Any deal that we make, Israel or Iran's not going to take, unless the deal basically says we're going to make Israel stop its genocide in Gaza, force them to commit to no wars unless provoked and attacked first. For the next, 2 decades, Iran's not going to take the option. The only way this steps down is if Israel basically runs out of fucking flavor with Trump and he threatens to pull back, and then that kind of makes them pull back their focus to just Gaza and leaving Iran out of it, which at this point, I don't even know if Iran would accept that because, you've been bombing their fucking capital for like a week.
Gay.
I think Iran at this point is also going to be full-on committed to the nuke and never take another offer about, deproliferation, de-development of any nukes. I think at this point they're just going to say, we have to get the nuke because it is the only way to guarantee ourselves safety and security.
You know something? You're right.
Trump doesn't have the pull of any world leaders really to get supporting and backing on this. I don't even think the world leaders would step in for Iran to come off the nuclear option at this point. That's how far down the totem pole this motherfucker has made us fall. So the only solution, like I said, left is for Trump to betray BB and let him go down this rabbit hole on his own. And if he does that, I'm telling you right now, Israel won't use the nuke that they do have. They won't use their nukes simply because they know if they're alone in this, with America not actually forcing his hand, they're dead in the water. So Trump is the only one who, unfortunately, Trump is the only one who could stop this by simply telling BB, okay, we're done.
I'm important. You want to be me.
Either you zero back in on Gaza and I just lose in the midterms to the Democrats and they impeach me and then do nothing else because they're lazy, useless fucks as well. They might not even impeach him. They might just grandstand and fucking limit his authority entirely. Who knows? That's it. That's the only way out. Trump telling BB this has to stop. Because invading Iran, you think it'll be Afghanistan round 2, where we just pummel the fuck out of a country and go on patrols here and there for like 15 fucking years and have soldiers randomly die to IEDs and lose their legs and shit and come home and be fucking hated or whatever and this and that. No. Afghanistan will pale in comparison to an American and Israeli invasion of Iran, even if nukes aren't fucking involved. Iran has much better infrastructure, whether it's just, roads, dams, so forth and so on, as well as government infrastructure. Sure, people dislike their government there, but it's much more robust than the Taliban ever fucking was in Afghanistan. They have much stronger military capabilities, economic force, much higher population. I think Afghanistan at the time of our invasion had 15, maybe 19 million people. Iran has 92 million something people. There's 10 million people alone in fucking Tehran. So, their population is much, much different. Oh, and they also have some very, very hellish terrain in Iran. Okay, it's very mountainy, it's very hilly, it's full-on natural barrier. So Iran will be more like Vietnam, but even higher, because obviously the weaponry has become more advanced. It will be a modern-day Vietnam.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Draft or no draft, what the fuck ever, I'm not going to Iran. In the words of Muhammad Ali, but made modern, Iranians ain't done shit to me. Just because they've been lobbing missiles with Israel, I'm not Israeli. I don't live in fucking Tel Aviv. I don't have a fucking nut job, senile, crazy, insane, bullshit asshole president that isn't orange. I do have all those things, but ours is orange.
You are a rude, terrible person.
So that's Israel's motherfucking problem. I'm not going to war with Iran for fucking Israel's motherfucking problem. I will keep my ass here. You can shoot me, whatever. You can hang me. I'm not going. Not my problem. Yeah, if no nukes are deployed, Iran becomes Vietnam. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. I know this is kind of depressing. Would you sign up to go fight Iran after Israel struck them first? Which I didn't mention that. Israel started this. Do not listen to any media telling you otherwise. They struck first. All because BB said once again, they're about to develop the nuke. He's been saying that for fucking decades. Fuck me. So, would you fight Iran? Do you think Taco Trump is bitch made for letting BB sway him into this situation? Yes, he most definitely was. He was super bitch made. But we are fucked either way.